Bentornati amici di Comics Reporter, Fumettomania, per la nostra consueta intervista. Oggi abbiamo un ospite veramente molto apprezzato in Italia. Oggi è con noi Dan Panosian. Welcome Dan.
Hi.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Cominciamo con la prima domanda. La prima domanda riguarda il tuo progetto dal titolo An Unkindness of Ravens, che verrà pubblicato prossimamente in Italia il 23 settembre dalla Saldapress, scritto appunto da te e disegnato dalla nostra artista italiana Marianna Ignazzi. Puoi parlarci per favore di questo progetto?
Well, it started out with, I've always kind of been fascinated with the Salem witch trials, which happened in my country centuries ago when they were hanging and burning witches. And I thought it would be very interesting to see what happened to the people who escaped those trials. And it wasn't just the Salem witch trials. There were all sorts of witch trials that took place. And of course, you know, they didn't get everybody, thankfully. And the people who escaped, I thought it'd be very interesting to see if, you know, how they would plot the revenge, you know, what they would do if they had time over generation after generation after generation to exact their revenge on the people who destroyed their lives and the lives of their families.
Adesso parliamo del vostro show, The Original Drink and Drove Social Club, in onda il giovedì sul canale YouTube. Appunto questo show è diventato anche sfociato nella pubblicazione di un libro insieme a Dave Johnson e a Jeff Johnson, tuoi compagni di trasmissione. Quanto è importante la collaborazione, il confronto, la complicità tra diversi artisti nel vostro mestiere?
Well, I mean, it started out just the way that we could hang out. I'm married, and my friend Jeff Johnson is also married, and Dave Johnson is a bachelor. He's not married, and he wanted to go out to the bars with us and hang out. He said, well, if we come home with drawings, our wives are not going to be upset, you know, that we're just drinking and being wild at a bar. And it was true. So my wife was like, yeah, we should go. And I used to go to bars, and I would draw like the band that was playing or people at the bar. So I think a lot of comic book artists in general probably, you know, drew at taverns and bars, but we decided we might as well have get-togethers and we called it drink and draw. And now it started in Los Angeles with just a small group, and now there's drink and draws all over the world, all different chapters, which is really interesting to see. And Image Comics contacted us and asked us if we wanted to put together an album, a collection of all the works, and we did that two volumes, and now we're probably going to come up with a third one. But it's a lot of fun. I mean, it changed the way I draw, my approach to illustration, because it, you know, you're drinking, you get a little bit loose, you know, and it's fun. It's a fun. No deadlines, no editors. Nobody telling you what to draw. You just draw because you enjoy it.
Totally relaxed. Totally relaxed.
Very relaxed.
Okay.
Maybe too relaxed with all the drinking.
Exactly. Ok, continuiamo. Parliamo della tua carriera, della tua lunga carriera. Hai lavorato per tante case editrici, per la Marvel, per la DC Comics, per la Image Comics, per la Skybound, solo per citarne alcune. Che cosa è cambiato secondo te il mondo dei comics dal tuo esordio ad oggi? Dacci la tua impressione.
I started very young. I was probably 16 years old, drawing comic books for small publishers. And when I was 21, I moved to New York City and started working for Marvel Comics and DC Comics. I was just doing inking, which to maybe some viewers or readers, it's just taking ink and going over the pencil lines. Oh, Jeff Johnson. Yeah, I did that. I think it was a trading card. It was very big, but we did a trading card for Wildstorm. Yeah, I still remember drawing that or inking that piece and putting the Zipatone on them. you know, Zipatone is this film, and you cut it out with like an X-Acto blade and cut through it, and you know, now it's all done on computers. I still ink by hand, but and Jeff Johnson was just here a few days ago. We were on a trip together, and we did a signing even during COVID. But yeah, so comics have changed quite a bit, and I tried to change as well. My style has changed pretty dramatically. I did a little bit of drawing when I was in my early 20s for Marvel Comics and Image Comics. I drew this comic book called Prophet for Rob Liefeld at Extreme Studios. And I did a lot of work at Wildstorm, but I was trying to draw as closely as I could to someone like Jim Lee. I was very impressed with how he drew, and I was a big fan of his, and I was trying to draw just like him. I got out of comic books for about 10 years. I was working in video games, and when I got back, I decided I was no longer going to be an inker or you know, too many people drew like Jim Lee, and plus Jim Lee is the best at drawing like Jim Lee. You can't draw better than him. So at that, so I just kind of got into my own style of drawing. But the early influences when I was a kid, like John Buscema, Sergio Topi was a big influence. My father loved his work.
Like Walt Simonson, a fan of Sergio Topi.
I have a whole lot. I don't know if you can see in the back. The whole top shelf is all Sergio Topi.
Ah, fantastic.
Like top shelf is all famous comic book artists in Italy. Very, very good artist, Christaki. That's my son. He has his own desk right here. Yeah, so I like those artists, you know, different style, and even I guess that style creeped into my work, and now I just draw a lot differently. And I've always wanted to write stories and write and draw my own, just like a lot of the American authors and illustrators here, like Frank Miller and Walt Simonson and John Byrne. The list is not a long list of people they let write and draw. Usually, if you're an artist, they want you to be an artist. If you letter comics, you just letter. If you color, you just color. So I wanted to change that for me.
Praticamente hai risposto alla nostra prossima domanda. Appunto, qua avevamo già una tavola originale da te inchiostrata, disegnata da Jeff Johnson e da te inchiostrata degli anni 90 della Wildcats. Sì, ti stavamo chiedendo appunto le tue influenze come disegnatore e come inchiostratore, ma hai praticamente risposto. Nel 2018 hai partecipato a Lucca Comics. Una domanda che poniamo appunto spesso ai nostri ospiti è: qual è stata la tua impressione del nostro paese? Qual è stata la tua impressione dell'Italia?
Lucca was amazing. I brought my whole family. My son was very young. My wife, she's Greek, so it's she looks a little Italian, I guess. We had the Italians were so good to us that we can't wait to get back. And Marco from Salda has visited a bunch of times. Actually, I think just maybe once or twice, but he makes this delicious olive oil. I even drew some artwork for his own olive oil. Lucca was like something out of a dream. It looks like a Mobius or something city. It was so wonderful. I was thrilled to be there. So they don't have conventions like that in America.
Slots appunto è un tuo lavoro che ti vede anche nei panni di sceneggiatore. Puoi raccontarci qualcosa di questa esperienza?
Slots got started because Robert Kirkman is a big fan of the old comics, like the Wildstorm comics and Extreme Studios, and he had asked to work with me a few times, and I didn't realize it was. He told me this at Lucca. He said he had shown me a bunch of scripts, and I kept saying no for some crazy reason, and he never told me that they were his scripts. And so finally he said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I'd like to write and draw my own. So I submitted a bunch of ideas. And the one I really wanted, which is slots to go through, he liked. And it's not a typical American, it's not a superhero comic book. It's not a horror comic book. It's more of a crime noir drama, I guess. And it was a great experience because I wrote it, I drew it, I colored it, and even the lettering is my lettering that Comic Craft, a big company out here, created based on my handwriting. So it was a very personal work. My father was an artist, but before he was an artist, he was a professional boxer. So I love boxing and mixed martial arts. I grew up with that, and I love Las Vegas. It's a very interesting city because it's all gambling, all drinking, all being terrible and bad. But there's, you know, people live there, and the locals who live there, they don't necessarily go to the same areas that the tourists all go to. If they do gamble, they go to downtown Las Vegas, and downtown Las Vegas looks a lot different. It's not as flashy. I mean, there's still lots of lights and it's glamorous, but it's grittier. And it's a very interesting cross section of people. Some of them, you know, it's just it could be sad, it could be happy, depending on your winning. I thought it was a perfect place because there's a lot of boxing that takes place in Las Vegas and a lot of gambling, and I love those two things. So I wanted to create a story for people and younger people. So I think it's a nice mix. Is the happiest I've ever been working on a comic book. I think there was 2 pages out of the entire book that felt like work. Everything else was just for fun. So I had a great time, and I'm really grateful to Robert Kirkman for allowing me to write that story. And I'm grateful that it goes around the world, and Saldapress reprinted it. And I remember at Lucca, they had a big, the main hero is this character called Stanley Dance. And they had I came there and I saw him larger than life. It was magnificent. So very happy.
Benissimo, Dan, sei stato veramente molto gentile. Continuano a esserci un po' di problemi di connessione. Facciamo l'ultimissima domanda e concludiamo. Quali sono, per favore, parlaci dei tuoi, lavorativamente parlando, prossimi progetti, se non sono confidenziali?
I wish I could show them, but I don't know why comic books are so confidential with the companies, but everything I'm working on right now is just about ready to have a press release, so I can't talk about them. But I can say that I've already spoken with Marco, and the next project is going to be published by Salda, but I'm not writing it, I'm just doing the drawing, but it's by one of the very top writers in American comics right now. Is one of my favorites. And it's, I guess I can get away with saying it's a Western horror comic book. I am shooting, there's another Italian artist, I'm trying to get to draw that one. Another woman, she is super talented, and I hope the editors choose her to draw it. I can't wait to work with her. And you know, I had a great experience working with Mariana on Ravens, and Fabiana, who colored it, also Italian, on a project. But I can't wait to come back to Italy, particularly Lucca, and hopefully when this pandemic is over, conventions like that can come back and, you know, see everybody.
Ok, perfetto. Da parte di Comics Reporter, Fumetto Mania, per oggi ti ringraziamo, siamo molto contenti di averti intervistato. Diciamo ciao e grazie, Dan.
Oh, grazie. Thank you so much for the interview, and I can't wait to get back to Italy, maybe meet both of you. So that would be nice.
Ok.
Yeah.
Perfetto. Grazie. Ciao Dan, grazie. Ciao, grazie.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao.